You guys may be seated. Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. There we go. Good morning, everybody. There we go. Can we just give a round of applause to all the freshmen who made it to chapel this morning? If you see someone, RAs, if you see one of them who didn't come, just give them a really hard time. Show them what we're about here. So, as Sean said, I'm a GA this year. I've walked with a lot of you. Some of you are fifth years too. And I was just doing some math. I've spent more time with some of you here at Bethel, professors and some fifth-year students, than I have with my own family in Asia. So you guys are kind of like family to me. So this feels very comforting space. We do have this student life fair, so I would be very mindful of time. I'll try to rush this in 10 minutes. Not rush, but book it in 10 minutes. But today's message is going to be called Sacrificial Friendship. We're going to go through a lot in a really short amount of time, so I need you guys to be ready. So buckle up. So I have the clicker in my back pocket. I was going to ask you guys to change it. Sorry, Liz. Okay. So a little bit about me. I graduated last year. There's my dad, my brother Gigi, who's just on bass today. My beautiful girlfriend Autumn. Awkward. There's my grandma. My grandma's awesome. I can't say this at Bethel, but she's a bad apple. She literally ran away from communists and they burnt down her village, and now she's still alive somehow and kicking it. That's my youngest sister, JJ. She's a senior in high school from Fort Wayne. We're all from Fort Wayne. And that's my sister, KK. She's like a third-year senior. She's a junior but a senior this year. It's my awesome mom. I just want to say so much thanks to my family who got me to college and university. They've been a place I could cry on, lean on, so I just need to make sure I pay respect to them, especially my grandma. She's my day one, ride or die. Cool. So I want to talk about a little bit, two different mindsets that we can have at Bethel this year. You're going to meet two different students, and you might have already met them. And if you're one of them, boo-hoo. You have people who are going to complain about everything at this campus. And you're going to find people who just, nothing is right. Bethel's missing this. The professors are doing this. My roommate's doing that. And then you're going to have people who take action. You're going to have people who make a difference. So this is just my advice after being here for 4 years. Take it or leave it. Find the people who complain, and then just don't listen to them. Surround yourself with the people who take action. I've been paying attention to different sports teams on campus. I think I follow all the sports teams. I've been paying attention to student clubs, commuter life, all different clubs we offer. There are people who take action in every single one of our groups on campus. I'm positive. So you can find those people on the soccer team, on your courts, in your athletic practices, in your music rehearsals. Find the people who actually do something and just surround yourself with them. And watch how your mindset, not on Bethel, changes, how your mindset on life. And more proactive mindsets that are healthier to change instead of just having someone who complains. For me, I don't know who said this to me, but a complaint is just a wasted breath. You're not going to change anything. You don't make the situation better. If anything, you're just making your outlook on life worse. And so that just brings everyone else down. So I think complaints, for lack of a better word, it's kind of like feces. When you're complaining, you're just just feel more like you. And so it's really impactful, the words we say. I know that sounds really funny, but it's true. If anyone has complained before, I know I have, we don't often think about the people we're complaining to. We're just trying to get stuff off our chest, which I don't think is the worst thing. I think when it's dangerous is when complaining is all you do. And so for all of us this year, whether you're a senior, whether you're a new student, transfer student, I encourage you to really think, who are you surrounding yourself with? What voices are you listening to? So we're going to take a look at the passage about greatness and what Jesus says about greatness. And so I was born in America, and so I'm going to try my best to separate American culture into two sentences and how we view greatness. But basically, if you want to succeed, you must be the best at what you do. That's one thing I've been told or taught. Second thing is you want to move up higher to a higher status. You must be better than everyone else around you. So you think really easy application in sports. If you want to make the first team, the varsity team, you just got to practice your craft and got to be the best at what you do. But now if you don't want to be benched for the whole season, you actually have to be better than everyone else on the field. And so right when we're little, like kindergartners, we're just taught how to be better and how to do better things for the sake of moving up higher. That's how grade works. That's how most schools work, unless you went to a Montessori school or something. You can hear all the Montessori kids laughing. When we look at what Jesus says, if you guys want to read this with me, set, go. Not so with you. Instead, Whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be your slave, just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. Amen. As you can see, Jesus is really clear about his definition of greatness, and it has nothing to do with what we've been taught as Americans. If you want to be great, you actually have to be a servant to the people around you. The very nature of a servant is that you are beneath someone's status. You can't be like a servant and like higher than someone. You think in the work field, a servant is someone who serves a boss. On the sports field, if it's soccer, I just go to soccer because that's the only sport I know. The teammates serve the captain's directing, and then everyone's underneath the coach, and the coach is speaking the directions into the team on how to perform on that day. And so what Jesus is saying is for every one of you here at Bethel University, students, faculty, everyone alike, if you want to be a servant, you actually have to lower yourself to a lower position. Does that make sense? So we can't actually be a servant and talk down to people. Jesus has already redefined what servanthood and greatness is. And this next one, this could be a little edgy for some of us. I don't know if you get offended. It's the Bible, so get offended. Whoever wants to be first, what does that say? Must be your slave. We're all like, there's like an awkward pause. Like, can we still say that word? Yes, we can still say that word because Jesus said that word. And so if we have any Greek scholars, that's the word doulos. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I just looked it up last night at 2:30. A slave, we don't have much context in present American history for the word slave, but we have a long 400-year history of slave. I think the first African slaves in America were brought over in the beginning of 1600s, and then we also use Native Americans, the indigenous population in the States. But for the most part today, we don't really see the aftermath of that. We don't really see in the States. In other countries and continents, slavery is still present. So when someone reads this verse and they see Jesus say you have to be a slave to someone else if you want to be great, it makes sense in their head because there's literal slaves still in Asia. They're still trafficking in different slaves on the coast of Africa. And everywhere else in the world except the States, we don't have as much of an upfront direct slavery in America. But when you see what Jesus is saying, if you want to be first, so this isn't just like first place or first one in a race. No, first means if you want to be first in society, if you want to be the greatest, if you want to have the greatest name, if you want the most authority, power, and privilege, you actually have to reject. So he says, just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve. And so Jesus models what slavery looks like, and a slavery out of love versus forced servitude. And so we see to give his life as a ransom for many, there's a purpose to this slavery. It's not like you just like give up your will. It's not like a toxic relationship and you just listen to everything the other person tells you to do. No, it's like Jesus saying, I'm going to give up what I'm you guys here at Bethel University for the sake of Indiana and for the sake of North America and for the sake of the entire world. I'm going to lay down my life. And so some of us aren't Christian here. Some of us come from different traditions, denominations. One thing you cannot argue is the historical death of Jesus Christ. And if you want to do that, don't fight me. Fight like all the other historical scholars. Jesus was actually crucified on these founding principles of servanthood. So whether you believe in Islam, whether you're a Hindu, whether you have no faith, whether you're struggling in your faith, one thing you can't deny is Jesus was willing to die on these principles. Whether or not you accept he's God or not, he's willing to die knowing that he's going to be a slave for humanity. So greatness comes from serving others, two things we learn from Jesus, and success comes from sacrificing your status. And so for Christians, if we have any Christians in the house, what we believe is that Jesus is going to sacrifice his godhood to become a human. And he's 100% human, 100% God, and theologians write so many books about this, and we still can't understand it, but we just got to believe that somehow, some way, a God so high and so perfect is willing to take on imperfect skin and flesh. And so all of us know my skin's not very perfect, and somehow Jesus saw this, saw our bodies, and was like, that's how I want to relate to them. That's how I want to connect with humanity. And so we also see, our Greek scholars are going to have such a good time with this. Jesus is using the word your, and it kind of doesn't make sense in English. Whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. So in the actual context of Scripture, Jesus is talking to his disciples, and they're asking, Jesus, can we sit on your left, and can we sit on your right when we go to heaven, because we're just so awesome and so good? And just like, your minds, have you not been following me for 3 years? That was the complete opposite I've been teaching you. It's not about sitting at the left and right seat of heaven's throne. It's about being the servant and slave of everyone around you, because that's what Jesus did. And so that your is actually plural. And so it doesn't really make sense in English, but the best way to say it is, it's like saying if Jesus was at Bethel, he would be saying, not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be Bethel's slave. Whoever wants to be great among you must become Indiana's slave. Whoever wants to be great among you, insert your hometown, that slave. You must be your family's servant. You must be your friend's servant. You must be your roommate and your hallmate's servants. You must be your teammate's servant and your teammate's slave. That is what Jesus is trying to say. Does that make sense? So that plural your, it directly applies to a group of people. And so you're not just slaving for one person. You are slaving your body for everyone here. And so if that turns you off about Christianity, this is not the right religion for you. Christianity, at the very nature of what Jesus sets, is a foundation of servanthood. A perfect God who doesn't need us serving us. In most places, in the workplace, in internships, usually we serve people so we can get a job. We serve people so we can get a reputation. We serve people so we can move on higher. Be nice to the coach, and maybe he'll put me on the field. Be nice to my roommates, and maybe they'll stop complaining all the time. Be nice to my RA, and maybe they'll let me sneak in a boy at night. Hopefully not. But what Jesus is saying is you serve for the sake of serving, and you don't expect anything in return. And so this year at Bethel, this is what we're going to be praying for this year. We don't want a campus full of complainers who don't do anything but complain. We want a campus full of servants who just serve freely, who don't expect anything in return. For all those who profess Jesus as Christ, that's not an encouragement to you. That is a commandment from God. And so we actually can't fulfill our status and role of being Christ followers if we're not willing to serve. So if there's a servant, then there's a master, and that's such a hard thing for me to hear. I'm entitled. I like my freedom. I know my Bill of Rights, hopefully, at least 8 of them. And so I know that if I'm a servant to someone else, I have to follow their directions. And that just like turns me off. So I don't want to listen to anyone else. I just want to do what I want to do. I want to wake up when I want to wake up, eat the kind of food I want to eat. Is anyone else like that? Does anyone just want to do what you want to do? You guys make money. You guys come to college to get degrees, to make salaries. So one day you can just do what you want to do. Do you guys just want to stay at Bethel for the rest of your life? That's not rhetorical. Do you guys want to stay here for the rest of your life? No, I hope the prayer is you come to this school and you realize the professors care so much about you that they want to empower you and raise you up to send you out. So that way you can do things that you want to do. If you want to be a nurse, you can go to our nursing program and learn the things you need to do. Get the certifications, pass the test, hopefully, and go and become a nurse. Does that make sense? When you're a servant, that's not how it works. When you're a servant, your will and your energy goes to the master. And so a slave does not control their own life. Their master controls their life. That's so backwards to everything we learn in the States and America. And I don't know what countries everyone else from, but I think for the most part in humanity, we don't really like to be in a place of like subjugation, of being subsequent to someone else's will. A slave's purpose is to make their master rich, satisfied, and happy. And so everything I do today, I'm going to try to go to DC, or maybe I'll go somewhere else. I'll get something that makes me happy. That salad doesn't look good. That pizza looks better, but the salad's probably healthier. Maybe I'll do that because it'll make me happier in the long run. That's how we wager decisions as humans. What Jesus is asking us is not to look at what makes you happy or rich or satisfied. It's what makes the university, what makes your community, what makes your home and local churches rich, satisfied, and happy. It's completely backwards to how we view greatness. A slave must lay down their life to make their master's life better. And so, like I said, just in a few different historical examples of slavery, there's so many different types of slavery, but the general principle is that a slave doesn't tell the master what to do. Does that make sense? Like, you don't see a slave whipping their master. Like, that's like so backwards. What you see is a slave has to lay down everything they want and their dreams and passions to make their master's life better. They're at the sake and they're at the will and mercy of their master. If you have a good master, you might be like a house slave or something. If you have a bad master, you're in the fields all day long. And so God is asking us, I want you to be my slaves. And that's like, oh, is that in the Bible? Yes, it's in the Bible. So the question we all ask is, how can a good God ask us to be slaves? How can a good God ask you to be a slave to someone you don't even know or someone you don't even like? So here's this next passage, Jesus talking in John 15. He says, I no longer call you servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. He's talking to his disciples, but take it as he's talking to you right now. Instead, I've called you friends. For everything that I've learned from my Father, I've made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit, fruit that will last, and so that whatever you ask in my name, the Father will give you. This is my command. Can we all read this last part together? Love each other. Oh, yeah, I actually skipped a slide. So here's the first slide. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. Instead, I've called you friends. Do you see what Jesus is doing here? So he's already redefined greatness. And what's greatness? It's servanthood. It's slavehood. But then what is Jesus redefining us as? He's not calling us a servant anymore. Now he's calling us a friend. I don't know if any of you, Bethel's a weird place because you can actually use, are any of you friends with your coaches? Raise your hands. If you have like a solid coach. Okay, we have at least like 7. That's amazing. Like a coach's job first, okay, get the victory of every game. But on the second part, some of our coaches, I know Coach Thiago's like this on the soccer team. He's willing to, and just from personal testimonies I've heard, he's willing to be friends with his team and to relate with them. And that makes an impact on how you play on the field. Our professors here, a lot of them are overqualified to work at Bethel. And they're not going to tell you that. I'll tell you that. They chose this job because they want to serve the next generation of Christian leaders. And so I want to thank all the professors and all the different faculty we have. Take advantage of the friendship that they're offering. Oh, yeah, we can actually. Sick. I wasn't planning on that, but you're appreciated, faculty. Jesus calls us friend. And so I'll try to wrap this up really fast. I'll invite John up for this last part. But when Jesus calls you friend, I want you to remember, first, greatness is not about height or anything or stature or power. Greatness is when you choose to sit down and lay down what you want to do for the goodness of others. And then secondly, Jesus is a God who isn't calling you to be slaves or just servants. He models that. He says, follow me. If you're going to follow Jesus, you better follow him to the cross, just as much as you'd follow him to resurrection. But Jesus calls you a friend. And so he also changes the definition of friendship. And so in social media, a Facebook friend, what do you have to do? You click one blue button. In real life today, how many people you say I have a lot of friends, but maybe only 2 people know your birthday? What Jesus is trying to say, he's not saying about that rubbish of like, oh, I know this person, I like them, we have class together, we're friends. No, he's talking about if you want to be my friend, if you want to be someone's friend, you have to be willing to lay down what you want to do for them. And so at Bethel University this year, how will you be a friend and a servant? I'm going to dismiss everyone who wants to go to the Student Life Chapel after the story, but we're going to go into a hymn after the story. If you want to stay for the hymn, go ahead and stay. We'll just end worship. But I want Student Life Chapel at the fair. So a good friend gives up their wants, a good friend gives up their life, and a good friend loves even when it requires sacrifice. So if you don't take anything else from this, just take a good friend loves even when it requires sacrifice. That's how you're going to know who your real friend is. You don't need to be Christian to know what a good friend is. Some of you are going to go through something this year, and then everyone's going to bail but one person. That's your real friend. Stick to that person. Hold on to that person. If you don't have that person, be that person for someone else. So here's me in 6th grade. It's 2013. It's absolutely pimping in the Reeboks. I share this story because this is when I moved districts. I moved to a middle school, and I had such a hard time finding friends. And so I actually would go table to table for the first 3 months looking for a lunch table to sit, and no one would let me sit at their lunch table. And so one table finally was like, hey, if you buy us food, we'll let you sit at our table. So I was, of course, like a broke child of immigrants. We were on reduced lunch, and so I got free lunch, except if I bought extra snacks. And so if I bought extra snacks, it'd go back to like $5. And so I would buy snacks just to feed this table, just so they would let me sit there. Every day. So I did this for like 2 weeks. Like, okay, we're laughing, we're joking, we're friends now. And then one day I didn't bring the chips. I didn't bring the cookie. I didn't bring the ice cream. They said, what are you doing here? I'm like, oh, like, aren't we friends? Like, no, like, if you didn't bring this is the agreement. You needed to bring snacks to sit here. And so that whole semester, I just struggled with, Is it the way I look? Is it the way I talk? These people don't know me. What did I do that could possibly offend and hurt them so much? And then fast forward, my freshman year at Bethel, second semester spring, my favorite part of every day was 5 p.m. dinner in the DC. We would get like 20 people to sit around a round table. It was like the table. It was so fun. And I sat there every single day. I looked forward after I got all my homework done or after I got my procrastinating done. Sorry, Dr. Schmidt. I would sit at that table, and that's what I looked forward to. And then 2 days I missed dinner because I was swamped with homework. It was probably like week for before finals. And I got like 6 text messages that day. Like, Zizi, where are you? Zizi, you missed dinner. Zizi, are you okay? Do you need something? Zizi, I heard you like stayed up all night drinking coffee trying to finish a paper. See, like these are real texts. I can name drop people. And that, I was like, looking back, like, oh my goodness, Bethel is so weird. Why are they texting? Why do they care so? Because I'm not used to being cared about. I'm used to like, I need to give you food to sit at your table. And here's people, I missed 2 days at dinner. And you're like, where is this guy? Is he doing okay? And so that's an encouragement for all of you to do. You don't have to be like them. You just have to do what you need to do to serve the people around you. So I'm going to pray and dismiss us for this, to check out all these different student clubs. We went well over time. Sorry, clubs. But I'll just pray over you guys, and then we'll sing this song about how good of a friend Jesus is. If you want to bow your heads with me. Lord Jesus, thank you so much for our faculty. Thank you for our students. Thank you for everyone who makes university possible. Help us realize that there's so many people in this world who would literally give their lives just to be able to study at a university, God, and we get to do that right now in America. So I want to pray for everyone. I want to pray for friendships. I want to pray for broken friendships, healing friendships. I want to pray for someone who is struggling to find any friends. Would this be the day that someone else finds them, Lord, just the way you found us? So I lift this up to you, God. You are a good God. You're an almighty and omniscient, omnipresent, all-knowing God, and yet you still call us friend. So would you bless everyone, bless our athletes, bless our students, bless our faculty and professors, bless the maintenance staff, bless everyone who works and comes through Bethel University on these grounds, and help them know that what a friend we have in Jesus, and that Jesus is the reason why we get to sing. All God's people said, amen. So you guys are dismissed. Go to the student life thing. If you want to stay for a little bit, just to linger in this moment, to pray for each other, pray for a friend, I encourage you to stay as well. You're dismissed.